Hey, how you doing, my good people? How are you doing? It is Wednesday. It is Wellness Wednesday, and welcome to another edition of the Noontime, My Time podcast. We are here to have conversations. I'm here to spark conversations, to do a bit of moderation when you get in here and you've got stuff to talk about and we've got stuff that we want to share. Yeah, and that's the best part about this whole thing. I feel like we need to be talking to each other more because conversations matter. They do. They absolutely do. And so we've got to learn to listen. We've got to listen. We've got to think. And then we've got to speak. Y'all dig that? I hope that you do. We got a whole lot of conversation that I want us to have today. I want us to have a very good conversation. I want you to prepare yourself and challenge yourself beyond making assumptions. We got to break those walls down of judgment. We need to embrace the beauty of our diversity and our diverse perspectives. We can do that if we talk and if we listen to each other. We can do that. There's great impact in active listening. It's going to help you in your relationships. It's going to help you within your families and actually in your workplace. So let's actively ask questions, and we need to actively question our own beliefs. We need to engage in open dialogue so that we can foster understanding, some empathy, have more collaborations. Conversations matter, guys, but mostly if you're open to listen. You dig it? It's Wellness Wednesday, Noontime, My Time podcast. Before we get so deep into the conversation, you know what we got to do first? We got to do a little bit of breath work. What I want you to do is inhale to the count of 4. And we're going to hold it for a few seconds. And then we're going to exhale. And we'll hold that for a few seconds. And we'll repeat that a few times. Now, you can close your eyes if you're in a place that you can do that. I don't want you to do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're actually sitting at the desk. If you got your headpods on and you're taking a listen, we'll vibrate with us and listen. But if you can close your eyes, close your eyes. You want to take it a step further, put your hands over your heart and feel that you are alive. That's you. Let's get into it. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. Hold that a few seconds. Inhale again. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. One more time. Let's inhale. Hold it a few seconds. And exhale. Yeah. Doesn't that feel great? It's Wellness Wednesday, so I want you to feel great. I do. So happy Wednesday to everybody. Happy Wednesday, all my good people. I want to welcome everybody who is just tuning in. Welcome. Today we're going to have a discussion about listening and how listening is actually a way of finding and cultivating wellness. And you could ask, how am I saying that? But think about it. Think about it. You've got 2 ears. We all need to be listening just a little bit more than we're speaking. We've got to open ourselves up. And I'm going to tell you something. Yeah, the universe has a very interesting way of bringing things to your attention. And as I decided to have this conversation, of course, the universe started bringing things into my presence so that I could hear bits of information and take that in. And I ran across a video reel. I'm not going to show it, but I am going to talk about it. And it was with KRS-One. He was being interviewed. What really attracted me as well as he was being interviewed by a little girl. I have no idea how old she was. She looked like she could be anywhere, let's say 9, 10, not more than 12 years old, And so that brought me great joy to see this little black girl with a microphone, and she's interviewing KRS-One, and there was a little clip that someone took from it, and it was talking about listening. He was saying that we need to be listening to each other. And I was like, wow, beautiful. Thank you, universe. So let me tell you what he said. He was saying basically that younger people need to be listening to older people. Now we know that. We do know that, and we hear that. We should be listening to our elders. But I want you to hear where he was coming from. He said younger people need to listen to older people so that they can get the knowledge, get that knowledge, and move faster in the world among younger people, among their circles. But also that older people need to be listening to younger people so that they can learn that new information and so that they can learn new things, and that would allow them to move faster among older people because they're getting new insight. So you see how important it is that we listen to each other. We need to be listening to each other because when we listen to each other, we all can grow. So, just when that came across my timeline, I was like, yeah, perfect. This is what I'm talking about today. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Why don't you guys come on in here and let me know where you are from. Let me know where you're from. Wherever you are listening, wherever you can hear my voice. I am in the Carolinas. Carolina girl. I'm a brown South girl. You know that. The brown South girl. At least I'm one of them. All right? Check this out, guys. I want to ask you a question. And I want you to think about it because we ask questions and it allows us to think, and then it allows us to get deep into the conversation that we want to have. So one of the questions I want to ask is that, have you ever been in a situation where you've had a preconceived idea that prevented you from really listening to someone? Have you? And if you have, I want to know how that made you feel and how did you handle that? How do you handle having a conversation and listening to someone? Matter of fact, let me put a little bit of spice on that because that's not really giving the full body of what this question is really about. Have you ever experienced listening to someone having preconceived ideas about them, right? So that really prevented you from listening to them because they have a different point of view from you? How do you handle listening to people who have a different point of view from you? I want to know that. Think about that. Think about that as we dive into this conversation. Because listening is an art. There's an art to it. And the way I feel about it, I think that listening and learning to listen could be a superpower. Because definitely it's a key tool to the path to a path of positive change. Because we got to be able to have some understanding. Listening allows us to be able to have understandings. We've got to explore the art of active listening and the ability that it brings to change. We got to learn to have a peaceful ear. We got to learn that. A peaceful ear can enhance our lives. It enables us to navigate relationships with individuals who hold various different viewpoints from us. You got to be able to foster some type of empathy, and that's going to allow you to create more opportunities for personal growth, work growth, wellness, and spiritual growth. Truly hearing others, like really hearing them, is going to allow you to open up for more dialogue. That's going to cultivate a collaborative spirit. When people know that you're listening, that you're actually actively listening, They're going to be more willing to cooperate with you. You're fostering a cooperative spirit there. That's what you're doing. So that's what I want us to be able to talk about. Because we need to be embracing our diverse perspectives. We're not all the same. We're not all going to be the same. But we're definitely here for each other. Embracing our differences, fostering harmonious relationships. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Out of everything that we're doing out here, out of all of the things we're doing, we're out here, we're working, we're having our families, we're learning, we're educating ourselves. But why? We're supposed to be doing this together. It's about all of us. It's about a oneness. And I don't know what you guys think about that. I don't know if you feel that that is real, but it is. You've got to know your role. You've got to play your part because none of us can do everything. And let me tell you something. I do many things. I try to be useful to as many people as I can be. In my community, people who are around me, I try to be. And I can do a lot of things. But I can't do everything. But check it. I can do my part. And all of us have a part to play. If we are open to listen to each other, if we really take the beauty of what conversation offers us, and we truly listen, you'll hear where people are coming from. You know where they've been. You know what it is that they're trying to accomplish. And you'll know where you fit in to help accomplish that goal. And likewise, listening is important. It has a purpose. You've got to be able to do that. Developing that peaceful ear. I want us to talk about some strategies that we can come up with that will allow us to have a certain mindset and a certain calmness and openness that we can have when we're engaging in conversations with people who have different viewpoints from us. That's important. You got to be able to build some type of empathy and have some type of understanding. Listening has a real role in developing that art of empathy, gaining a deeper understanding of others, bridging those gaps or attempting to do that. I see I've got some people over here in the comments here, so let's see what we've got going on. I see we got Keep the Faith with Tori in the house. She is here with us in D-Town, Darlington, South Carolina. How are you doing? Tori says, I can't listen when people are always angry and negative. I hear you. For sure, I know what you're saying. And it's important for us to try to figure out how we can do that. That's kind of what I'm saying with that peaceful ear. So when I woke up this morning and I knew what I would be talking about, but as I was journaling, I was looking for my words. The words were flowing through. And that's where I came, where peaceful ear just kind of flowed through. And I was like, yeah, we got to be able to have a peaceful ear. Now, what does that mean? Well, I'm figuring that out. We're having this conversation now because this came to me this morning. I've never heard peaceful ear before, but I heard it this morning and I really understand what it means. Like, we've got to be willing to listen to people who don't have the viewpoints that we have, who are really on the borderline of agitation, and people are negative out here. And obviously, we're going to do what we can do to try to have that peaceful ear. Some people might force you not to be able to have it. But that doesn't mean that you can't attempt to. And we've got to figure out how we can overcome some of those barriers because we want to be effective listeners. Why? Because we've got to be able to address some of these common obstacles that are happening here in this world, particularly in the times that we're living right now. I think we're hindering our abilities to overcome some very simple things because we're not listening to each other and we're not respecting each other or having empathy for each other. We could do that if we have conversation. We can do that if we're listening. The conversation piece is not about you talking. It's not about you just kind of sitting there and and waiting for your turn to say something. Active listening is really the key part of conversation, because there's a power in open dialogue. We need to be exploring how we can listen with a purpose. How can we create that type of environment? How can we do that? Find ways to encourage that. Find an environment where you feel safe enough to have conversations with people that you don't necessarily agree with. And that's going to take having some type of trust or just a basic respect. Because you can have a respectful conversation with someone that you don't agree with everything on. And I don't know necessarily that there's anyone that we agree with on everything. So go with your peaceful ear. Go with the desire to have a respectful conversation. I see we got Kimberly St. Clair here with us. How you doing over there on the West Coast? Cali. All right, Kimberly says active listening is a serious skill set. The habit for most of us, most of the time, is listening to respond, listening to relate, listening to challenge, waiting to defend. Active listening is fully hearing what the other party has to say. And if you really listen, sometimes you'll hear that they don't want to reply or an on-the-spot opinion. They just want to be heard. Absolutely. There's some really key nugget things in this statement. Appreciate that, Kimberly. This is good. I like a lot about this. And she's right. Most of the time, people are not listening to hear what you have to say. They're really listening to respond. They want to challenge you. And sometimes people are listening and they're ready to defend. The first thing come out of their mouth, they're looking to defend themselves. And that's not active listening. It isn't. And sometimes when people are talking to you, she's very right here again. They don't even want you to have a reply. You don't have to. They're really looking to be heard. And that's how you're going to know where a person is. Because you're listening. I see we got Derek here with us again this afternoon. How you doing, Derek? Always good to have you here with us. Very thoughtful engagement you have every time I see you have a comment. Derek says listening helps a person walk through a conversation, but hearing get you through or running a conversation. Hey, Derek is deep, y'all. He gonna bring it to you, and he's right. You're absolutely right. Are we looking to be active listeners? Are we doing that? Are we going with a peaceful ear? Because active listening to others is essential. It's essential for your own personal growth, building relationships, fostering positive change. You got to build that trust. You got to build some respect. That's what active listening to others will do and will demonstrate. It has a value. You get an opportunity to value their thoughts, value their feelings and their opinions. You don't have to agree with them to value them. Right? So that active listening helps you create a sense of that trust, a sense of that respect. And that's going to help you in these relationships. Because people want to feel heard. People want to feel understood. When we listen sincerely, we foster that environment where open and honest conversation can thrive. And that's going to lead to stronger and more fulfilling connections. Active listening also helps us gain new perspectives. Listening actively allows us to expand our knowledge and understanding. By engaging in diverse viewpoints, we challenge our own preconceived ideas, our own preconceived notions. We broaden our entire worldview. You got to be exposed to different ideas. You got to be exposed to different beliefs. That's where you're going to grow. That's what promotes personal growth. That enhances your critical thinking skills. It encourages us to learn. We're going to evolve. You're not going to learn anything if you can't listen. If no one can talk to you. If you have to always be right. If it has to be all about you. That's not how you do it. And if you want to be good, at resolving conflicts, bridging gaps, bridging divides, I should say. You've got to have active listening skills. When it comes to resolving conflict, active listening skills is a superpower for you. It plays a very vital role in conflict resolution. You know it to be true because there's going to be differences in many individuals, groups. We got different opinions. But if we're genuinely listening to other people, we create that space for constructive dialogue and mutual understanding. We can find a common ground. It helps us break down barriers, misconceptions. People think they want to get along or say or ask the question, can we get along? We can, but are we listening to each other? Are we actively listening to each other? Do we want to build those bridges? You got to want to do it. You've got to foster those positive change. It can't just be, that just talk for talk. It can't be. Truly hearing others, we become more aware of what issues they're dealing with. We're more aware of what their needs are. We can kind of understand where they're feeling injustices. But we've got to be aware and we've got to listen. That's the only way we're going to become aware. You're not going to know because you're living in your world, you're living your life. But you gotta be aware of things that are outside of you. You're going to find out through listening. Right? Because people don't agree. And I'm going to say this. And let me know if you agree with me or let me know if you don't agree with me. Let me ask you this. Because I don't think that people have to agree to get along. I don't. In fact, a key aspect of getting along with others is really about respect. It's really about having respect and being able to navigate your differences. And that includes disagreements. It's natural for people not to hold the same opinions. We're not going to have the same beliefs. We don't have the same perspectives. It's unrealistic to even think that or expect that. We're not. You cannot expect us to be completely in agreement about everything. But we do have the ability to respect it. I know that. Getting along with others involves lots of things. But that mutual respect, that's number one. Open-mindedness, effective communication. And if we're talking about effective communication, we got to talk about that listening piece, what we're talking about right now. Being willing to have that peaceful ear, being an active listener, listening to other people, seeking understanding, finding common ground wherever that's possible. But that's going to require you to recognize the differences that we have. And those differences can contribute to the whole richness of our relationships. It can. It offers us opportunities for growth, offers us opportunities to learn. So by embracing our diversity, practicing tolerance, we can get along. We can have better relationships, even in the presence of disagreements. It's important to approach these disagreements with some type of empathy. You got to have some patience. Be willing to find ways to compromise. Be willing to look for solutions. You got to find solutions that are going to accommodate different viewpoints. And how are you going to do that? You're going to do that through conversation. You're going to do that by listening, having respectful dialogue, being willing to have that peaceful ear. Now I understand why peaceful ear came up to me, because when we already know going into a conversation, any type of space or workplace, and we know that there is a force or a side that is against us, we might not be willing to listen, or we go with these preconceived ideas. And I feel like if we just walk with that peaceful ear, at least We've already taken the first step to trying to resolve this situation. That's where that peaceful ear is coming in. Be willing to have that. Be willing to have that respectful dialogue. Because ultimately, we can get along. We can. I know it sounds, in a way, and it sounds kind of corny. Let's just admit it. It does. But does it? I don't think it has to be. Not if we're willing to engage in our differences, especially if we're going to be respectful about it. There's a process to having good conversations and having deeper connections. We can do it. We can work towards common goals. We can appreciate each other. We can really have value in our diversities, in our different perspectives. Yeah. See, we got another comment here from Derek. Derek says, listening helps a person walk through a conversation. Okay, I read that one. But it's still worth reading again. Derek says, listening helps a person walk through a conversation, but hearing get you through or running a conversation. Got another comment here from Kimberly. She says, great point. I thought COVID was a very divisive period personally. I did not let people's views, opinions, nor their conduct during that time cause me to treat or see anyone in a different light. I fully heard some people's reasoning behind their decision, and whether I agreed or disagreed, I respectfully accepted whatever their approach was. I was blown away by how angry and judgmental some people were, hateful even, during a time when everybody was navigating something new and scary. That's true. That's something that, I feel like all of us could take some lessons from, because there were vastly different viewpoints on how to deal with it, your thoughts, how you were going to handle it. And you had to respect people. You got to respect their viewpoints. You don't have to agree with them. You really don't. And by the way, guys, I want to send a happy birthday, belated birthday to Kimberly. She celebrated her birthday on yesterday. Happy birthday, sis. Love you, love you, love you out there. Y'all put some happy birthdays in the comment for Kimberly. Celebrating another year of life right here on this planet. We all out here trying to be better, do better. If we get an opportunity to another year, well, I think we should. And we're talking about listening today. We're talking about actively listening. What can active listening do for us? What can active listening do when we know we're going into a conversation of opposition? How many of you don't like having conversations or engaging in conversations where you know that you're going to face opposition? Do you run from them? All right. Derek gave a happy birthday wish. Yeah. Thanks for the birthday. And, it's not about me. I wanted to tell my sister happy birthday, but my birthday was on Saturday. We're a few days apart. That Gemini season all up in the atmosphere right now. Yeah, it is. I know what they say about the Geminis, but listen, I got a peaceful ear for it, but let me let you know, it's all about the Gem in I. You dig where I'm coming from? I got love for everybody. I really do. But I want to know how you guys are walking into conversations where you know you are going to face opposition. And how important are conversations of opposition to you? I feel like they broaden our perspectives. Engaging in conversations with people who oppose to the way that you think, that's going to allow you to gain some insight. It is. Allow you to gain a different viewpoint that actually something that differs from what you think or different from what you have heard or how you've been living. It broadens your perspective, helps you see a bigger picture. By understanding different viewpoints, you can make more informed decisions, develop a more comprehensive understanding of different issues and different complex issues. And it's important to challenge assumptions. Listening to opposition forces you to critically evaluate your own beliefs and assumptions. It encourages you to question your preconceived notions, because you got to dig deeper. You got to go a little bit deeper and understand where your beliefs come from. Seek a deeper understanding of the subject matter. This type of critical thinking process leads to personal growth and development, and that's what we want to do because we want to be better. We want to be well, and we can be. Listening helps you do that. Listening helps you even strengthen your own arguments. When you actively listen to opposition, you have the opportunity to identify weaknesses in your own arguments. By understanding opposing viewpoints, you can redefine and strengthen your own position because you were willing to listen and you're engaging in a counter argument. You dig? Listening is important, guys. It also fosters empathy. Listening to opposition cultivates empathy and understanding. It allows you to see the world through different lenses. You can appreciate the experience and perspective of others. Empathy leads to better relationships. Relationships that are more respectable and definitely more constructive. Constructive in dialogue, building and being able to have better dialogue with people who have opposing viewpoints. I think a lot of us need to be able to have this listening and this peaceful ear right now because I just feel like the times call for it. And every time we start going into our political season, and we're in that right now, there's a whole lot of opposing opinions. But we've got some very important decisions that we need to make for a majority of people. So we need to hear this thing out. We need to be listening to all sides. I'm not listening to one particular party. I'm not listening to one particular person. I want to be able to hear what's going on opposing sides. I want to be able to critically think about what they're saying and what they're presenting. I feel like we need to know that. I feel like that is what's going to be a component in figuring out, well, how can we make this work for a majority of people? Because we need to have some bridge building tools. We need that. Building bridges and finding common ground. Listening is going to allow you to do that. That peaceful ear again. Engaging with opposition opens up avenues for dialogue and finding common ground. It helps bridge building. It helps bridge divides and encourages collaboration. By seeking areas of agreement, you can work towards mutually beneficial solutions and foster a sense of unity and cooperation. Peaceful ears. A peaceful ear does that. Being willing, being an active listener encourages your growth. It provides you with an opportunity to grow because you're learning and you're listening, and it's exposing you to new ideas, new information, new perspectives to expand your knowledge and challenge your thinking. Life is a continuous learning process. It is. So you've got to continue to learn, and you will not learn anything if you cannot listen. You can't be taught if you can't listen. Listening is very important, guys. And we're talking about the political season coming up. And you know, this is one of the things people often say that or back away from conversations that have to deal with religion and politics. And we hear people say it all the time. We can't have conversations about religion and politics. Well, yes, we can, and we do. And we should. Because we hear, and we've got to find ways and have ways of promoting a healthy democracy. We live in a democratic society, so listening to opposition is crucial. If we want that democracy to function well, it's going to allow for diverse voices to be heard. We need to promote healthy debate, because we got to make sure that the decisions that are being made are being decisions that are fair, that are progressive and inclusive. You hear that? We gotta promote that. It's up to us. Are you listening? Are you willing to listen to people who do not agree with you? Listening to the opposition is going to be very useful. You've got to, I got to stress this, you've got to broaden your perspectives. You've got to challenge those assumptions that you're always having. Strengthen your argument. Build some bridges. I encourage you all to do that, because I want to grow. I want to learn. And I don't think that my side, and I don't know necessarily that I have a side, but I don't think that one side is particularly right about everything, and they're not. And we need to be making some better decisions. We need to be more inclusive. We can be. We should be. Don't believe that we can't get along. Don't believe that. Don't believe it. Challenge your own beliefs. Promote your own personal growth. Build better relationships with your family and your workplace. You can do that if you are a person who's willing to be an active listener, because it's going to increase your self-awareness, because it's going to make you question things. It's going to make you question what you've already learned or what you feel like you believe. Sometimes it's good to step back a little bit from your beliefs and examine them. Examine your own beliefs. That's how you're going to gain a better understanding of yourself and of your values. Self-awareness allows you to identify areas of your personal growth and where you need to improve. It's going to help you align with some actions that are authentic. You got to be able to do that. You got to be able to look at yourself. You do. So if you're listening to conversations and listening to other people who don't necessarily have the same beliefs as you, it's going to allow you to look at yourself and be aware. You need to understand the impacts of what some of your beliefs are on other people around you and in your other relationships. And are you being honest? Are you being transparent? Are you really trying to make genuine connections with other people? You do that when you're self-aware. You do that when you're able to question your own beliefs. And the only way that you're going to question your own beliefs is if you're actively listening and being willing and having a peaceful ear to those who don't agree with you, or with those that you don't agree with. It goes both ways. I see Kimberly here has another comment. She says, aha, I heard the whisper from my grandma for nearly 2 weeks. Your way is not the only way. And that's what I'm hearing here today. The thoughts, opinions, and methods of others ought to be welcome. Even if you don't accept it or make it your practice, have an ear for it. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. And I like that, because we have to listen to that wisdom from our elders. And I talked a bit about that. I touched on that a bit when I talked about the reel that I saw from KRS-One, discussing that younger people need to listen to older people. You need to. And I like your message here. Your way is not the only way. It's not. It's not. Your thoughts and opinions and methods of others ought to be welcome. Well, I'm sorry, the thoughts, opinions, and methods of others ought to be welcome. It should be. I like that comment. So I encourage open dialogue. I don't mind challenging my own beliefs. I hope that you who are listening here are willing to do that. And I suspect that you are. And particularly if you stay here and you've been here the whole time, you've already been willing to listen. When you come to this podcast, you're already willing to listen because this is just talk. But we become more open and engaging in respectful and constructive ways. And we can have constructive conversations and discussions when we're willing to be an active listener. I love it. The willingness to listen and consider different viewpoints. I can't think of anything else that would foster, collaboration, innovation. That's what we need. That's what we need. That's how that's going to give us an incredible tool, a tool that we need for resolving conflicts constructively. I encourage that. I encourage you to do it so that you can grow within your own personal wellness, within your professional growth. Challenge your beliefs. Push yourself. Push yourself outside of your comfort zone. Know that you need to be continuously learning. Question your long-time assumptions. Be open. Be open to others. Be open to new ideas, experiences, open to new possibilities. This mindset of growth extends into your relationships as well as your work life. You can become more adaptable and open-minded. You just have to want to be. You have to want to be that way. That's what I got, folks. That's what I got for you. We got to be active listeners. Be willing to have that peaceful ear. Listening is a part of wellness. So on this Wellness Wednesday, I hope that you learned something. Got to be willing to listen. Then you can think and speak. We can find the wellness in our conversation. I feel like, I want to listen more. I do. And that's what really promoted me to have this conversation, because sometimes, and particularly when we get an opportunity to watch podcasts or listen to podcasts, and I like to listen to people that I don't agree with, because I want to hear where they're coming from. I'm not just having this conversation to be talking. I'm having it because this is something that I am dealing with. And sometimes I'll listen to a conversation even more than once. And depending on how I feel and how I walk into receiving that conversation makes a total difference in what I learn. Because sometimes, we'll know a person is full of shit, or we think they're full of shit, or we have that preconceived idea that, okay, well, I know they get ready to say some bull, right? And you might listen to it and you might click off of it, and it might spark you to feel a particular way. You might get a little pissed off. You got like this anxious energy inside of you. And you hear all of the things that kind of get under your skin. You're like, oh man, I don't like this person. Or you decide you don't like that person. But if you go back and you listen to that same conversation, that same podcast, walk into that with a peaceful ear, being willing to just peacefully listen. Not that you're going in there to agree. You're not going in to agree. You're just going in there peaceful, because you want that for you, because you're trying to be better. And you hear something totally different. It doesn't rub you the same way. You actually take some good nuggets out of it. You actually learn something. It actually helps you grow. Some of the same things that we have been talking about. You gain a new perspective. You have a better argument. you can find a way of working together, how we can bridge some gaps. Just because you were willing to be an active listener and take your peaceful ear. See, Derek has a comment here. Derek says, listening is only effective through the tone in which the message is expressed through. I know what you're saying here. I absolutely know what you're saying here. And you're kind of right, because, you know, if a person is speaking to you in a tone and they are offending you, you're not going to be willing to listen with a peaceful ear. But my thing is, I want to be, and I like to challenge myself sometime. I don't make it all the time. But I like to challenge myself sometime, that regardless of the tone, I know where I want to be. I know what I want my mindset to be. Because I don't want to allow someone else's mess to take over my thoughts. I don't want their mess in my head. They can keep that for themselves. You dig what I'm saying? I don't want their mess to come and cloud up my vision. And sometimes people, you know, we all get pissed off a little bit. And if we can understand that, I don't know, maybe the person's having a bad day. Something else, you know, got to them. But tone is important. You are right. Listening is going to be as effective as the tone. But I want to challenge myself sometimes to listen beyond the tone. Beyond the tone. Because sometimes people deliver something in a tone because they're coming from a place of fear. Because anger has a fear component tied up with it. And they don't know how to express that. And there's an anxious and an angry and a fear all mixed up in one. They themselves might be able to calm down and change the tone depending upon how you are willing to listen. Depending upon how you're willing to receive. Because with some active listening, with the opportunity of offering a peaceful ear, you may be able to change the tone of the conversation. And that may be useful and helpful to them, as well as yourself. You understand? I thank you guys for joining me today. I appreciate you giving me your listening ear, giving me your peaceful ear. You've given some very, very good comments here. I like what everyone has had to say. I hope that you go on and have a great day. There might be a conversation that you might have to listen to today that you are going to be challenged to have a peaceful ear. I hope that you will be willing and able to do that, and that you can learn something and that something good will come out of it. All right? Well, before I get out of here, you know what I got to do? We do this every time we come into the conversation. We breathe into the conversation. Why do we do the breath work? Because we want to reclaim a little bit of our time. We want to set the mood. We want to set our own tone. And I don't think that you should be eating anything, going into lunch, if you're not at some type of ease. You don't need to be eating angry or upset or frustrated. Bring yourself to a center. That's why we breathe coming in. And that's the same reason why we breathe going out. Y'all make sure you have a good day out here. All right? Let's do some breath work. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. Hold that a few seconds. Inhale again. Hold a few seconds. Exhale. And hold that a few seconds. Inhale one more time. Hold a few seconds. And exhale. Yeah. Don't you feel great? I feel great. I appreciate you guys. And if nobody gave you a smile today, if nobody smiled today, you just close your eyes and give yourself a big smile and see how that feels for you. Right? Y'all be great out here. It's what we do. One love, y'all.